show where I try to educate real stories. Thank you for watching Truth and Justice with Vivian King. Tonight, my co-host, Mr. Damian Walker, brought another good guest tonight to tell his story, Mr. Michael Brooks. And as you know, this is a show where I try to educate people about the criminal justice system through story. Someone asked me in the studio this afternoon, what made you start doing this show in 2011? And I had to reflect on a time when I would talk to people in just regular people in the street about cases once I was running for judge, and people would tell me about the criminal justice system, and it was all fake. I mean, they knew nothing about the criminal justice system. People who've been in it for years know nothing about it. Their interpretation of why things happened is not accurate. And so I felt like if so many of us are in the system, we should at least understand the system we're in. And so I just want to educate people through people's stories, make it interesting, but give you an education at the same time. So, Mr. Brooks, tell us about you. Please introduce yourself. Who are you? Where are you from?
My name is Michael Brooks. I'm from Houston, Texas. I grew up on the southwest side of Houston, Texas.
Okay.
I'm 42 years old. As far as on the incarceration, I started going to incarceration when I was about 15, 16 years old.
And what kind of household were you living in then?
Oh, my mother and father, they were home. But around the age of 12, really around the age of 10 years old, it kind of, the consistency slid a little bit. And so the home, it wasn't broken just yet, but it wasn't as strong as it used to be. Because we used to have a real tight-knit family, go to church. We used to go to Ponchos after church, spending that time together, that quality time. My father was my football coach. So he taught me football, baseball, basketball, running track. That was my hero. And my mother, she taught me how to swim. So.
They were athletic parents.
Yeah, They were very concerned, and they were very consistent. Until it got to a time to where the drugs that they were doing, they started doing drugs, and it started taking over, and it started slacking in the parenting process. And so by that slacking coming on and that neglect kind of coming on in the household, I veered off to the streets. And so by the age of 12, that's when I started getting interested into the lifestyle of selling drugs, because I first wanted a job, though. I first got my first job at 12. I was working at Cotton Moving Company. And so my mother found out I was working at Cotton. I lied on the application. And so she was like, she called the people, she said, hey, you're not gonna be having my son work up there. He only 12 years old, he can't work up there. If you keep him working up there, then I'm gonna call somebody on you, right? So she kind of messed my flow of things up. My dad came pick me up, I went home, but I still had the want for money. And so I saw the guys around the neighborhood selling drugs, and I got interested, and I started asking questions and trying to figure out how I can get my hands on some drugs so I can make me some money. And that kind of led to the point to where I was at 2010, getting released. But the journey started at 12.
Okay. And then 15 to 16 is the first time you went to juvenile?
Yes, ma'am. Well, I didn't go to juvenile. I went to the county, and when I went to the county, I stayed in the county for a while. I went to boot camp. When I got out of boot camp.
But you're 15 to 16, you're too young to go to the county.
I went
17?
I went to the boot camp. I went to the Harris County boot camp.
But it still has to be juvenile. You have to be 17 to do that.
Yes, ma'am. It must have been 17
It must have
then.
been 17.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, I didn't go to no juvenile though.
So you never been a juvenile?
No, ma'am. I've never been a juvenile. Okay. And so I went through the whole boot camp process. And then when I went through the boot camp process, I came home. I stayed home for about a year and a half, something like that.
What did you go to boot camp for?
I went to boot camp for drugs.
Okay.
Yeah, I went to boot camp for drugs because I had it was a shootout that happened when some guys tried to rob me or whatever, and my friend got shot. And then I ended up going to jail because I was trying to go to the hospital with him. I kept my drugs in my socks.
Okay.
Trying to keep my drugs. I ain't want to get rid of my drugs. I got rid of the gun, but I kept my drugs because I wanted to make my money. Foolishness, but
Yeah.
I ended up doing that. And then when the laws went, they came and got me from the hospital, took me back to my room. They were searching the room. I was going to sleep, and I took the drugs out of my sock and put them under the back seat of the car. When I put them in the back seat of the car, they came, pulled me out, and lifted the seat up, and there the drugs were. And so that kind of went that spiraling event right there.
Okay.
And so
How'd your friend do?
my friend, he was all right. He got shot in the back. He got shot in the back with a 9mm, and he got a couple buckshots in his arm. But he walked away.
But he could walk afterwards?
Yes, ma'am. He walked after it. Yes, ma'am. He walked after it. But the
Very
thing
good.
about it is I was in front of him. I was in front of him, and it's a crazy situation. Probably a week prior to that, a friend of mine named Big Reggie was like a big brother. He called Pastor Hall because he knew what I was doing. He called Pastor Hall. She was a minister in South Park. He called her and told her that I was at this room selling drugs. I needed some help. So she took me to this place. It had a bunch of elder people, and they was praying over me. So while they praying over me, I'm not feeling it. I'm like, okay, this is not real. They put the hand on my head, put me to the ground, and I'm like, all right, nothing happened. But a week later, when the situation happened, I look at it as God had his hand on me from them prayers because he blocked all those bullets from my body, right? And I went to jail.
So were they shooting from the back or the front?
No, they were shooting from the front because they kicked the door in. They were shooting from the front. And so I'm right here in front of him. I'm shooting, and he behind me, ducked down.
But he gets shot.
He gets shot.
But you don't get shot and
I
they
don't
shooting
get
at
shot
you.
at all. There's no buckshots, no nothing.
Wow.
You understand?
It
And
went
so
around you.
it went around. Either they went around or went through, but then pierced my body. I don't know exactly how it happened. I just know it was God.
Wow.
And so at that time, I've always believed in God though, right? From my big mama always keep us in church. My mom and daddies keep us in church. So I've always known that it was a God, and I always known about God. So at that time, I knew what was protecting me. So, and then after that incident, like I said, I went to boot camp. I got out. I was still doing the same thing. I ended up going back to prison for another drug charge. And then I stayed in prison at that time for 5 years.
How long did you stay out from the first time to the next?
About a year and a half I stayed out after that.
You went in about 18 or 19?
Yes, ma'am. And so when
And you knew that
How
you
much
was
time
gonna
they
be
give you?
when they gave me that time, I got like 10 years, I think, at that time. I think I got 10
Why'd you
years
have to do
at that
half?
time. Because I wasn't listening.
Oh, you just being bad.
Yes, ma'am. I wasn't paying attention. I wasn't trying to listen. Like I said, my mind frame was, I'm just gonna do the same thing I was doing when I got out anyway.
Oh, okay. So you wasn't ready to stop.
No, ma'am.
Oh.
No, ma'am. I had fed into the stereotype and the stigma that we put on ourselves in jail. You done been locked up, so you're not gonna get a job. You're not gonna be able to do anything else but sell drugs. So mentally, I was thinking about a different way to do things when I got out.
Right.
And that didn't work out. Because I got out, I stayed out probably about 6 months, and then I went right back to jail and got a 2-year sentence. And so after I got out of the 2-year sentence, I stayed home probably about a year and a half at that time, and I got a 3-year sentence. And after I got out on a 3-year sentence, I stayed home probably about until July 29, 2007. That's when I caught my last charge.
So you got another 3-year sentence.
Yes, ma'am. And I ended up, I got 2 3 years that time, actually. And they was running consecutive, they was running concurrent together. And so I did that. Matter of fact, I got a 10-year sentence at that time, and I did 3 years on it. I did 3 years and we was at Caravans.
Okay.
And so when I did that time right there, we went through the whole 21-month process. So that's when the change come, because those other times I was going to jail and getting out, it was just a cycle.
Well, just talk to me about that. So the first time you said you did 5 years in prison.
Yes, ma'am.
So you're a young man. So
Yes, ma'am.
tell me, why didn't 5 years, taking your years from 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, didn't say, hey, this is not the life I want to lead? Because you just basically becoming a young man at that
Yes,
time.
ma'am.
So why is it that you're willing to do the same thing to come back? Because 5 years at 19, something like that would scare me. I would be like, because this is all my adult life.
Yeah. Ignorance. I just be ignorance and not wanting to change. Not wanting to understand that it's a different life that I can lead.
Were you, let's go back to the 5 years.
Okay.
Did you were you doing drugs before you went into? Were you selling it and doing?
I was selling drugs and smoking weed. I was smoking formaldehyde. I was drinking syrup.
I see.
Yes, ma'am.
And that formaldehyde is the wet?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so you was cuckoo then.
Yes, ma'am. Well, yeah, I was indulging to the point to where I wasn't just myself. I wasn't me. I forgot myself. That's basically what I could say. I forgot myself at that time, and it took a minute for me to be able to get myself and understand who I really am. Like I said, I was feeding into the lies of the stereotypes and everything else that everybody was saying. Because we being incarcerated, I know you heard it before, you get out, you're gonna come right back, right? When you get out, you're not gonna be able to get a job because you have a felony. So all those lies compiled together, as a young man, that's what I'm believing.
Did you believe that you were gonna go back?
Oh, I kind of knew it. I didn't want to believe it, but I kind of like, oh, it's a chance, it's a possibility. But I still wanted to take that chance because I thought I found a better way to do the things that I was doing before I went to jail.
Were you going back to the same environment, the same neighborhood?
Yes, sir. Yeah, most definitely. Going right back to the same situation, trying it a different way. I did one time. I went to Tomball. I got out of Houston. I went to Tomball, and I was like, okay, I don't know anybody over here. You know, I was staying with my mama at the time. I was like, okay, I'll be all right. But I ended up finding a way to get involved with the people that was doing the things that I used to do, and so I found a way to try and make me some money over there.
In Tomball.
In Tomball. And I ended up going to jail in Tomball.
So when you were in jail for 5 years, were your parents able to come visit you?
No, ma'am. I didn't have. At that time, when I went to jail, my mama, she was full of them prescription pills, and so she was off. Yeah. And my dad, he was working, trying to take care of the family, but he didn't have that. I guess you can say he didn't have the support from his wife, and so he was doing what he was doing, you know, and she was doing what she was doing, so it wasn't any strength in the marriage anymore. And so that separation happened. So my mother, that's why she ended up in Tomball. She went to Tomball and she...
Is that where she's from, or why'd she go to Tomball?
Because her sister stayed out there. Yes, ma'am. And she went to a rehab out there to get clean. And so she was doing pretty good. But then when I got out, I ended up doing what I was doing and ended up going back to jail. So that caused her to go through a whole whirlwind of stress, having to relive the entire situation of me being incarcerated. So,
is she still with us today?
Oh, she's still here. Yes, ma'am. She's still here. She stays on the north side of Houston.
Okay, well, she's still alive.
Yes, ma'am. She's still alive. My dad's still alive and everything.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
But
Both
they're
of them
just
still
not
alive.
together.
Oh, they're not together. No, ma'am. No, ma'am. That's
Too much, huh?
Yes, ma'am. That's a good thing. But both of them, like my daddy, he on the road all the time working. You know, he work on doing pilot cars, so he doing extremely well.
What kind of car?
Pilot car. He does for like wide load trucks. So you know you have to have a pole to make sure that they can get under the bridge and stuff like that, and make sure that the car is out the way. So yeah, he doing very well. He's good.
So he cleaned up his act too.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, he doing real good. Me and his relationship, because we had a bad relationship, me and my father. Me and his relationship, it was like really divided. 12 years old, I called myself being grown. I didn't want no more whoopings, and I told him I wasn't gonna get no more whoopings.
Oh,
and,
okay.
Yeah, and so that
So
clash.
y'all had a fight?
Yes, ma'am.
A fist fight?
Well, I hit him, my mama got in the way, and I ran and jumped out the window. My dad was a big dude. I was a little bitty.
You kind of big now.
Well, now I am. At
but
that
you
time,
weren't not at 12.
not at 12 years old. No, ma'am, I wasn't.
He never called you?
Yeah, oh, no, I ran and jumped out the back window. I jumped out the back window. We were staying over there on Bissonnette.
Okay.
And I went
It
over.
was the first floor or second floor?
It was second floor.
You jumped out the second
Yes,
floor
ma'am.
window?
We had that little garage,
Carport.
that carport. Yes, ma'am. I jumped down there and went
On
to
the
my friend
carport?
house.
But
Yes,
you had
ma'am,
already
I
done
did.
that before, though, probably.
Oh, I done did that many times,
Yeah.
yeah. But I was just saying that day I was trying to run for my life. I already knew what was going on, you know.
So you hit him
Yeah.
and ran.
I took off. I took
Why
off
would
running.
you hit your daddy anyway?
Because he was trying to whoop me with a belt, and I told him I wasn't taking no more whoopings. Because I was angry, because you have to understand at that time, and see, this is why I try and stay consistent in my kids' life, right? Because at that time, it had been years upon years of neglect. Me and his relationship wasn't like it used to be. And so I've grown to hate my daddy. You understand? And so at that time, I wasn't trying to respect him. You feel me? That was wrong on my part. But at that time, as a child, I'm not getting what I used to get from you. You understand? So
Yeah, no, I understand.
yeah, it upset me. And, you know, I felt like I didn't want to get no whoopings. And he picked me up from the couch and wanted to whoop me with his
For
belt.
what?
No, he was finna pick me up, turn around, and whoop me with his belt.
But what did you do?
Oh, what I do? Oh, I stayed gone. I went and helped my friends move, but I ain't tell nobody. And so I ain't think nobody cared. And so when I came back in, he was like, where you been? I said, it don't matter where I been.
Oh, okay. So then
Yeah,
you
I
come home
was.
and be disrespectful.
Yeah, I felt like my pants was too big.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. So,
But you ran though.
I ran.
Okay.
They
Yeah, I
wasn't that
ran.
big.
It was some
Yeah,
respect.
it wasn't big out here. Most respect, yeah.
It wasn't too big for you to run. You knew to run.
I had to get up out of there. Yeah, so.
Did you go back home that day?
Oh, yes, ma'am. I went back home with my aunties.
Oh, you took with backup.
I went back up. Yes, ma'am. Most
You went home with some backup.
I went home with, yes, ma'am, I did.
So you make sure those women all formed a bond around him, his
Yes,
mama,
ma'am.
his
Most
aunties. Make
definitely.
sure, make sure that he wasn't coming nowhere
Michael,
close.
you was wrong. My daddy named Michael too. You was wrong. You shouldn't hit that boy. So. But at the end of the day, like right now today, me and my dad have a real good relationship.
Good.
Yeah, I mean, he called me every day.
So you forgave him and he forgave you?
Oh yeah, he forgave me. I forgave him. We communicate. I mean, that's my best friend. That's one of my best friends besides my wife and my kids. So. Yeah, we have an excellent relationship.
Very good. That's very good because a lot of people can't mend. A lot of men can't mend their relationships with their father.
And see, that's the thing. That's part of the whole transition that myself and Damien went through as far as the caravans.
Okay, well let's talk about it. Hold on.
Yeah,
We're not there yet. We're not there yet. We got plenty of time. So the 5 years, your father didn't visit you, your mother didn't visit you because they were still out doing their thing.
Yes, ma'am.
What about girlfriend, wife, brothers, sisters?
I ain't had no
girlfriend, boyfriend.
No, my sister, she wrote here and there, but it wasn't.
So it's just you and the sister?
It's just me and my sister, yes, ma'am.
You older or younger?
She's older. She's about 1 year and 7 months older than me.
So when you did the 5 years, where were you? What place were you?
I went to Beeville, I went to Lopez, and where did I end up? I went to Beeville, and then I ended up in Lopez, down there in Mexico. You know Lopez?
Like South Texas?
South Texas. It's like it's 11 miles away from the border. Yes,
I don't know why they sent you down there.
And then I ended up going to the what is it called? It's a pre-release program.
Okay.
In Waco. It's close to Waco.
Okay. I don't know.
I forgot the name of it, but yeah, that's where I went to. I went there. Went to Beeville, Garza West, Lopez, and then I went to the pre-release.
So were you learning in the process of and this is the 5 years, right?
Yes, sir.
So in that process, by you selling drugs, a lot of times people go in and they figure out, they talk to people that sold drugs and around the country, and somebody may got caught from California, and they're now in Texas just for selling drugs, and they get out there going back to California to sell drugs. Were you getting knowledge? Were you getting educated while you were in, or were you just saying, I know I'm going back to Southwest Houston to sell drugs?
I just knew I was going back to Houston to sell some drugs. I wasn't trying to network or none of that, just being for real. I went to a class, though, called Cognitive Intervention.
Okay.
Yeah, I went to Cognitive Intervention. The reason why I went to Cognitive Intervention...
Was that in the 5 years? Or
yes, ma'am.
Okay.
No, man, that was in the first time I got incarcerated. And the reason I went there is because I know it would help me with my thinking process. And it did, but the thing about it is, though, after I finished that class, it wasn't no more classes. You know,
so you needed to keep going to class.
Yes, ma'am, because I had already had my GED. I wasn't thinking about no college at that time.
Sure.
And so at that time, I went back to the same old thoughts.
Did you, that 5 years, did you learn a trade at all? Or
no, ma'am.
You weren't trying to do no CDL or anything like that?
No, ma'am. Well, they don't really have that at them plants. You can sign up for them, but most of the time, they already full. Okay. Yes, ma'am. If you don't have a long sentence or nothing, they're really not transferring to a plant to get you a trade.
And at that time, that was early 2000s too.
Yeah.
The thing was a lot different. It wasn't as much rehabilitation, I guess, as it is right now. So things were a lot different. They focused on the people that they knew were going to be there for a while because they would invest into them because they know that they would get that return. On investment with the men that would be there for.
Well, it seemed like if they're going to be there 2 years, if they have a trade, then that they have a good chance of coming out and doing that trade.
But
but the thing is, though, they not
coming back.
But the thing about it is, once they get that trade, if it's only 2 years, then they're not going to be able to utilize them for the trade that they get.
They have to make money off of you while you're there.
While you're incarcerated.
They want you to have that longer sentence so they know that they can put you with the supervisor and y'all can be together for the next 15 years and y'all can fix these air conditions and fix these toilets.
Or dry these trucks.
For the next 15 years. And that was a process. I'm not sure what it is now, but that was a process back then because they wanted to make sure that your labor would be there.
Wow, I didn't ever do that. Okay, well, so talk to me. So you get in, you get out, you're not doing it smarter because you keep getting caught.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, why do you think you're getting caught? Because you're staying in hotels, which is motels. People are always looking for motels.
Just not thinking. Just flat out not thinking, just not trying to be smart about it. You know, it's doing things. I got caught one time. I was dropping a package off to a guy at a Burger King, right? And I was driving Lillian's car, matter of fact. I was driving her car. I ended up getting pulled over, and I had some drugs in the back of the baby seat, right? Just foolishness, you understand? So it was just, I mean, I can totally just be honest about the past me, the decisions that I made. It was very foolish. I did a lot of foolish things that I don't regret them because I wouldn't be at the point I am right now in my life.
Okay, we'll talk about, so that's the 5 years you did. You were at Beeville, Garza West, and Lopez. So
Yes,
what
ma'am.
about the 2-year sentence? Where'd you go then?
The 2-year sentence, I went to, what is it called?
So you said, because I'm going to take you through the 2-year, the 3-year, and the 3-year.
Yeah, the 2-year, I can't even remember.
Okay,
to tell you
and
the
after
truth.
that,
I
when you
think I went to Atascocita.
Okay.
If I'm not
Okay.
mistaken, I think they sent me straight to the state jail at
State jail.
Atascocita. I think so,
Okay.
if I'm not mistaken. The other 3 years I went, matter of fact, I went to Wallace unit down there in Colorado City.
Okay.
I went down there and I ended up getting my trustee. I became a trustee, so I was staying at San Angelo, Big Springs, and Sweetwater. I was going through those little camps. Those were like different little camps in West Texas. And I was going out there working in the river squad. What we'd do is go up there and cut down cedar trees so it wouldn't pull all the water from all the water from the river. So, yeah, I spent that time in West Texas. And the last 3 years is when I spent at Caravan. Well, I went to Michael's unit. I went to Michael's unit, and then I ended up getting transferred to Caravans.
What was the sentence that you had the last time?
The 10-year sentence.
So you had a 10-year sentence the last time?
Last time, yeah.
So you never really lived down a sentence? You never made it out parole out of any of those sentences?
I made out parole this time.
Last time?
The last time.
How'd you end up at the Caravans?
Well, what I did was I signed up for Caravans for the 18-month program because I knew I needed a change. And so I signed up for it, and they denied me. But then I saw parole, and parole ended up granting me to go to Caravans unit. And so at that time, I was at Michael's unit working at the packing plant, going to the packing plant where they do the pigs and all that stuff right there. And so that's how that happened. That's how I was able to go to Caravans.
So when you found out that you were going, were you excited about going?
Yeah, I was excited. I was very excited.
Now tell me though, help me with the transition. So from you going to, I'm just gonna sell drugs every time I get out of jail, to now wanting to go to the Caravans units. I mean, tell me why you wanted to change.
I was tired. I was tired. I was looking at it. I was like, all right. My baby mama, her car got towed because of something I was doing, right? So now my little girl, that was the only little girl I had at the time. It was Skylar.
How old is she now?
She 15 now. And so, you know, she was young. And so I'm incarcerated now. Now I got to look at her through pictures. They got to try and come down here and see me. So it's like something has to happen. It has to be a breakthrough somewhere. So I was reaching out. There was older guys. Being at an older plant like that, guys that's been locked up for a while, you have guys that will give you knowledge, only if you listen. And so I was listening at that time. My ears were wide open because I was tired. I was going back and forth in jail. I hadn't seen none of my 20s really, like, and be able to enjoy them. I hadn't seen none of my teenage years either to really enjoy them. You know, I was just doing stuff that it wasn't profitable for my life. It had no profit, it had no gain, it had nothing that could lead me to a point of success. And so I was just tired at that time, actually. And so I wanted to do something better. I wanted to get in a different position. I wanted to see something different in life.
And what was your approach? So you get to Caravans, and you kind of understand what the program is, I guess, before you get there because you applied for it.
Yes, sir.
So from day one, what was your approach in saying that I really want to engage and change?
Well, I engaged in it. I think maybe at first, I don't know if I was resistant or not. We was in class together.
Yeah, we was in the same group.
We was in the same group.
So y'all started the class
I
at the
think
same
I
Started
time?
at the same time.
Did I meet you? I met you when we was going through, when we first got there, huh?
Yeah, we
You
met
standing right next to me on the wall, right? I think so, yeah. And
We
so
came in together.
Yeah, and I think that transition, for me going in and being able to hear different stories, because it was a bunch of different stories. And
Tell me about the program. Is it like AA where everybody talks about how they got incarcerated?
Oh, it's AA on steroids. It's like something totally different. It's
So,
like,
okay, so you got how many guys in a group?
what do we have, like
Started out with like 40 something.
Oh, it's that many people?
About 50,
So
yes,
I'm wondering,
ma'am.
like in a group, how do you tell your story? Because, you know, if you tell a story, you can talk for an hour.
Yes, ma'am.
And with all those people, I mean, do you get 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or you rotate different days?
Well, I
How
would
does it
say
work?
I was worked out because of who our counselor
was,
Our
yeah.
counselor was Beckett. So he was a young guy who had Beckett.
Michael Beckett.
So he had went through an incarceration.
Yeah, he'd been
became
incarcerated.
This unique Bible scholar.
Yeah.
And he would.
His name was Michael Beckett?
Yes,
Michael
ma'am.
Beckett.
Michael Beckett.
And he would beat you to the punch. He knew what you were going to do.
Oh, yeah.
So he had that insight. Then he also had that spiritual insight. And really kind of no matter what you would bring to him, he already had an answer for it. And it was what you needed because it was that challenge.
Yeah.
So coming in a situation like Michael came in, by me, I was incarcerated for one period of time.
Yeah.
And him being incarcerated from a bunch of time. And we're from the same neighborhood too.
Most definitely, yeah.
So we kind of grew up, we didn't know each other, but we knew everybody else.
Yeah.
And to be in a situation with somebody that can speak not only to what you've been through, but speak to the desires of your heart as far as that change, that's what Beckett was to us.
Yeah,
we was his last group, actually.
Yeah, because he
What
left.
after that? He left?
Yes, ma'am, he left. He left after that.
Where'd he go?
Well, he got his own church and his own little store. He got the little green store and stuff like that. Yeah, it was a good experience, and I think at that time, going through that group like that, and having who we had, who God put in place for us to have right there, I think he reached me in a different manner. I think I was able to relate to him more, and I couldn't get over on him. It was no nonsense. It was like straightforward. You know, it was no games. He wasn't going. If it wasn't by the book, as far as, and when I taught a book, I'm talking about the book of God. If it wasn't by God's word, then he wasn't with it. You know, so, and as far as the stories, the thing about it is we spent the majority of the days together. We lived in the same dorm, and so the communication would be all the time. We always had communication, whether it be one-on-one communication or whether it be a group communication, but we always had that time. So the stories and the understanding of each other's life and upbringing and reason why we was incarcerated, that came on a daily basis. Yeah, so it was able to fix it. It was 21 months, so.
That's a long program.
Yeah, but it was good.
I thought it was 18 months. It was
It's an 18-month program, but he was there for 21.
21 months, yes, ma'am.
So you get that a little bit early sometimes.
So did the man live there, or he lived in the same city? I mean, where
Beckett stayed on the north side.
He stayed on the north side of Houston, yeah. He didn't live at the plant.
No,
he stayed on the north side.
That's in Rosharon? It's Carol Vance?
Yes, ma'am. It's in Rosharon.
Richmond, okay.
That was Rosharon.
Richmond. Rosharon is 288.
It's right up the street, though, right?
No, it's different. So 288 and 59. So Richmond and Rosharon.
It's like about, okay, Sugarland, like.
Yeah, so Sugarland, exactly. Yeah,
okay.
Sugarland. Yeah, so staying there for 18 months, seeing each other.
So did y'all go to this program every day?
Oh, we did.
No, you in it. That's what you
You in it. You in the program.
Oh, you live in the program.
You live in the program. It's a whole facility of programs.
It's a tie.
So it's.
What's the program called?
It's called the IFI, Interchange Initiative, Freedom Initiative,
They
IFI.
just changed the name. I heard today.
Wait a minute,
Interchange Freedom Initiative.
Hold on, let me write that
Okay.
Initiative, that's kind of hard.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so what's the next name?
The new name is Prison Fellowship Academy. Because it's a prison fellowship program, which they're the largest nonprofit in the world concerning prison activities. So they have prisons in Brazil, in Africa, and other places too.
So the IFI is still the same concept?
It's the same concept.
They just changed the name?
A care model in a sense. There's God-based or faith-based, I guess you have to say.
Faith-based program,
It has to be a faith-based program. So in Brazil and Africa, it was some of the toughest prisons over there, and they went in and with the same approach that they have in Richmond, Texas.
Wow. Would you say that most people change for the better if they're in this program?
Well.
Or can you get kicked out of the program?
Oh, you can get kicked out. We had a classmate get kicked out. What?
I thought you almost got kicked out one time, right?
Who?
You?
When?
Oh, okay.
No, I remember that. I don't remember that. I think I was on straight and narrow at that time. I was trying to get it.
We had some people get kicked out.
We
had some people get kicked out a couple times.
Left
early. But what was always unique?
The music. Y'all remember the music? So they had a computer room for us. It was an awesome program. They had a computer room for us to where we'll be able to get on there and learn how to use a computer. Because 9 times out of 10, a lot of guys don't know how to use a computer. So it got some music in some secular music, some outside rap music. And so it was a guy, I ain't gonna say his name. This
Don't
guy,
say his name, don't
yeah, I ain't gonna say his name. I ain't gonna do that. I ain't gonna say his name. This guy was listening to this music, and the music you could hear it out the earphones. I don't know who it was that got
Zero?
him.
What was it?
It was Zero or
Zero.
something. He was listening to some rap music, and I mean he was zoned out, right? And I think a counselor, I want to say Beckett. I think it was Beckett that walked up behind him, and he heard that music. He was like, "Hey, what are you listening to?" And so when he caught him, they had him in that little holding cell, that little cell. They put him over there. You know, it's if you want to change.
Yeah, that's the whole thing.
That's the whole thing, because that's why I say this experience, the experience I went through, it gave me a different light about myself. It gave me a different understanding about myself because it was different classes, not just Bible classes, but classes about, what is that, man class?
So Carol Vance actually taught a class. Remember, he taught the first class.
Yeah, I know, but
Judge, which class?
No, I'm talking about that man. It's the
Authentic manhood.
Authentic manhood. Authentic man.
class.
And what it does is it breaks it down and it make you look at yourself in a mirror, and it gives you an understanding, basically about what a real man is. It's a lot of classes like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so like I said, it's different class. We had Kairos.
Kairos.
Yeah, we had Kairos. People came in and
That's what I always hear about Kairos.
oh man, we cried. I cried. I ain't
Yeah, the
gonna lie.
Kairos, yeah, because part of this training, isn't it that y'all have to be truthful to everything?
Yes,
so,
ma'am.
like if you got a wife or a girlfriend,
Yes,
or you
ma'am.
got, a lot of times guys have 2 or 3 girlfriends,
Yes,
or 2 or
ma'am.
3 wives, and different ones visit. You're supposed to come clean
Yes,
and
ma'am.
be honest.
Most definitely.
Because this guy that I need to find, he told me how it changed his life, because he went through it. That's the first time I'd ever heard of
We
it.
need to find them.
About
We need
10
to
years
find 'em.
ago.
Yeah.
And every program, I think on Tuesdays and Thursdays, you have certain programs where your family could come in.
Yeah.
So they would be in the prison not only on the weekend, but they can come throughout the week.
Yeah.
Then you had the volunteers, and I think that was
mentors.
a change. Yeah. So a lot of the men, they would come in with their wives, and some women would come in by themselves. That's what really kind of did it for me, because it was showing that people care. Because when you're going through so much by yourself all the time, and
Yeah.
if you don't have family, or you have family that are kind of just out there on their own,
Most definitely.
you feel like nobody cares. So when you see somebody caring, it actually helps you look at yourself and say, okay, now I need to care about myself,
Yeah.
so somebody's caring about me. And it's a love, but more so it's going to be that caring aspect, that you getting out of your bed to drive down here on a Tuesday or a Thursday evening
And spent an hour or 2 with us.
and
Yeah.
drive back home
Yeah.
after your work day. And that meant a lot to a lot of the men that were going through the programs to have those mentors, because a lot of them were millionaires.
Yeah.
We had a lot of big time
People
millionaire,
come through,
or they were frat brothers, or people that had actually been through AA. So the range was so wide to where you could get not only knowledge about who you wanted to be, but they would tell you how they went through their process too.
Right, right. And this guy that I can't think of his name, he had a rich mentor that
Okay.
actually when there was a retrial, and I was appointed to the retrial. I wasn't involved in the first trial. That guy came down.
Okay.
I forgot who the guy was, but he actually, and I think he might have lived in Dallas or something.
Okay.
But this guy, and maybe he had moved after the
ma'am.
program, but he actually came down and testified for him. Which, that's why when he got re-sentenced, because we weren't trying the case again, we were just trying the punishment again. But to try the punishment again 10 years later, you got to try the case
Yes,
for the
ma'am.
jury to know how to punish you, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So yeah, if they'd given him 60 years first for shooting him, I think they gave him like 15. They wanted to find him not guilty, but they couldn't because that wasn't their charge. They were charged with just re-sentencing him.
Okay.
And so I think they gave him like 10 years or 9. I'll have to look at it because it was really interesting. It was really, and that was on the ag case.
Oh,
Because
okay.
that was where the person got killed.
Yes, ma'am.
And so he had changed his life. So from that program, that they didn't even want to sentence him. They sentenced him to something. Maybe it was 5 years, whatever the minimum was they can give it. Maybe he had priors to where the minimum had to be 15 years or something.
Okay.
But whatever it was nothing compared to that 60.
Yes, ma'am.
Because he'd already been there like 9 or 10 years. So
That was real good.
That was real good. That was real good. And he
definitely.
wrote me for a long time afterwards because, that resentencing changed his life. But he'd been through that program. It was the first time I'd ever heard of it. It was before I started doing this show. So I really hadn't heard about it anymore until you told me about it, I think. Or maybe a few guests have told me about it, but not as in-depth as you have.
I would say how it affected me a lot, because I was at the other prisons, and being able to go there. And it was close to where I was, because I was in Sugarland. I was in Central and Sugarland, and so it was right around the corner. So a lot of the mentors were already active in that particular prison. So when I went there, they knew I was coming, and it was seeming like, okay, Damien's coming over here. We're gonna get Damien to do this, this, this. And like Michael tell you, like I wasn't doing anything. I'm like, I'm getting ready to go home, and I don't know what's happening. I don't know what I'm going home to. So I need to sit down and try to figure out what's going on with me. And he would always say, you need to get involved in something. Like, I've been involved for 15 years at the other place. Don't need to get involved over here. So that became my focus, to really work on me. But those opportunities provided themselves. And just like him, we were on the
Writing.
So IFI Herald, we formed a newsletter.
A newsletter, yeah.
And I became the editor. He became one of the reporters and writing, and we wrote stories. And our mentor was Ed Fowler, who was a sports writer for the Chicago Tribune, the Kansas City Telegram, the Houston Chronicle, and he was very
well known.
He was very well known, and he was the chief editor. Yeah. And I was the editor of the newsletter.
We had Toastmasters.
Yeah, we did Toastmasters
Public
together.
Speaking, yeah.
Did you do that too?
Oh, yes, I did.
Was that a part of the program?
Well, that was part of the program, but the thing is, though...
You'd already done it, hadn't you, Damien?
I had already done it,
yeah.
And that's why I didn't want to do it when I got over there.
Did you do it again?
I did it again, yeah, because the mentors there, they wanted me to be involved in it. So it was just a support to show all the support that he showed to me before. So, yeah, I got involved and got some more credits and everything else.
It was good, though. It was an excellent program. It kind of gives you a different way of speaking, you know.
So once you did the 18 months and going through that, how were you changing?
I was changing because I was getting to know myself. I was changing because I was able to look at the lies that was told to me, the lies that I believed prior, as far as just, I'm not gonna be able to get a job. All I know how to do is sell drugs. I'm not a good person. Just those lies right there. I was able to look in the mirror and clean that mirror up and get the understanding, okay, I am a person that can, you know, be successful at someone's job. I am a man. I am not a boy that's gonna still sell drugs and do ignorant things. You know, it's just being able to evolve and know myself. You know, that's what it helped me with. The classes and everything, getting closer to God, building that relationship back up. Like I said, I know God, I've been knowing God since I was young, but just being able to get a stronger relationship with him. And then a bond with the brothers that was in there too, because everybody else was going through it too. And so we built a good bond. We built a good bond, a good relationship. And so I think that kind of brought me to the point of when I came home. Been home 9 years now.
That's great.
Yeah, I've never been home 9 years after getting out of incarceration, you know, so that is a big plus to me. And plus, you know, working I had my first job January 2011. I left that job in 2014. And
how'd you get that job?
JD was working there.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. One of the guys that I knew, as a matter of fact, he was my mentor. Okay. He was one of my mentors that was down there. He was a
peer mentor.
Yeah, peer mentor.
What does that mean? He was in prison too?
He was in prison too, yes, ma'am. And he was a mentor. And so when he got out, me and him communicated.
Where'd he have a job at?
It was called IPF, Industrial Pipe Fitting. And so it was a fabricating place. We was doing polyethylene pipes. And so when I got in, he got me the job in. I started learning what I needed to learn. And I went from a machine operator.
When did you get out exactly?
I got out August 23rd, 2010. I was supposed to get out July the 2nd.
Got out in August?
Yeah, I got out in August, man. I stayed an extra almost 2 months.
That's why you did 21 months.
I was stressed. I got
out July 20th.
And see, and this is the reason why I say patience, because at that time, I was frustrated. I was like, man, I had a date to go home in July the 2nd. And so I was like, man, why am I not going home? Not understanding that God needed me to see some things. He needed me to understand some things that was going on, and I had to be patient. I had to be patient.
What was the legal reason why you couldn't go home?
Oh, that's because my mama at that time, boyfriend, called the parole office. She told me when I got home, called the parole office and said that they didn't want me to come to their house. You know what I mean? I didn't know that. Nobody told me that.
You were supposed to parole to her house.
I was supposed to parole to their house. And so I didn't know that at that time. And I ended up going to Lillian's house, and I really didn't want to do that.
Who was Lillian? Oh, that's
Lillian, that's Skylar's mama. Yes, ma'am. And I didn't want to do that really because I was up and down about the whole relationship. Damon know it. I was trying to be in a relationship with my child, so that situation, it really was something I didn't want to venture into. But I did. I'm blessed because my little boy was born at that time, but the relationship didn't work. But that's why I stayed the extra time in there, because I didn't have that address to go to. And so all the time I'm in there, I'm stressing. Everybody going home way before me. I'm like, man, what's going on? Am I going back to prison? That's all that went in my mind. But I had to sit down and reflect, like, okay, what are you gonna do? And so I sat in and I was asking myself, you know, is this gonna be the time that you're gonna actually change and you're gonna stay free? You know, or you gonna get out and come right back? So the time I stayed in there, although I was frustrated, I needed that extra time in there. I needed that extra time to be able to build myself up and really ask myself those real questions outside of the classes, because I wasn't in the classes at the time, you know. So that time, the extra time, it was worth it. I say it was worth it. And
so I guess it was the uncertainty that
yes, ma'am,
really frustrated you.
Not knowing what was actually going on. And so I guess after the first month, I guess August, the beginning of August, I was kind of relieved a little bit, because I had been having those conversations with myself and having those conversations with Miss King.
Okay.
Yeah, Miss King, you know, she was telling me, look, you're not going to prison.
parole
That was a parole office. Not you, that was a parole office. Yeah.
With me.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, no, and had the conversation with her. She was just letting me know, no, you're not going back to prison. Just take this time and just relax, you know, and figure out where you're going to go and what you're gonna do when you get home, you know. And so those were the questions that I asked. So I kept contact with all the guys that was in the group. And like I said, Jermaine Davis, that was his name. He was my mentor. And he told me, hey, we hiring up here. I went and filled the application out. In January 2011, I started working.
So what did you do the rest of those months?
Well, I had started going to school. I started going to ACC. I started, what I was doing? I was doing my business. I was doing business administration at ACC. And so that's when I started going to ACC at that time, right there. And I was doing that and then I was doing the bouncer too. I was working at a little the sushi bar. They had turned it into a little nightclub at night. I'll go there and make me a little money to bring to the house.
And the thing about individuals like Mike, though he continued to make those negative choices, because probably didn't know how to make positive choices.
Yeah.
One thing I learned about him in class, and a lot of other men in the class, that we were learning, well, I'm going to say I had been in Bible situations, but a lot of men were learning Bible talk or whatever for the first time.
Yeah.
And you had to process it. So when you're learning this new information, you don't know how to process it,
Yeah.
especially if it's talking about you. So one thing that Mike was able to do, and I saw in him and a couple of other guys, that he was intelligent. And that's what, I'm not gonna say it shocked me, but that's what really pushed me to always encourage him and other individuals like him.
Yeah.
Because you actually, when you had a chance to show that you could learn and you could produce in an education environment, you really did.
Yeah.
And so then he had the opportunity to come home and go to school.
Yeah.
And I think that setting Egg Caravans kind of laid that foundation for you to go to school, because now you're able to learn.
Yeah, most
Before you was always told what to think.
Yeah.
Now you're able to learn, and you learn how to process information. And that's what I think set the tone for you to go to college and do what you did in college.
A totally different environment, because right now, 2017, December, I got my associate's degree. I stopped going to school though in 2012 because I had heart surgery. So when I had heart surgery, I just took a break. My wife, Erica, that's my wife, she encouraged me to go back to school in 2015, and so I started it back up, and I got my associate's degree in December 2017. In January 2018, I started my bachelor's. And August 9th, 2019, I got my bachelor's.
All right. So you got your associate when?
I got my associate's in December 2017.
And then when did you get the bachelor's?
In August 9th of 2019. And
All right. So you just
October,
got it.
October 1st, I started my master's degree.
And where did you get your bachelor's degree at?
CTU, Colorado Technical University.
Is that online?
Yes, ma'am. It's an online accredited program. Yes, ma'am.
Accredited. Make sure
Accredited. It's accredited. Yeah, it's accredited.
So
yes,
what was
ma'am.
your degree in?
Business administration with a concentration in information technology, and so the MBA is going to be in business administration. I'm keeping it on the same track, but it's going to have a concentration in operating supply chain management because the job that I work at now, I work at Bimbo Bakeries. It's the largest bread company in the world. So I'm getting that to kind of, add to my how do you say, add to my resume, add to my
Well, let me ask you this: how did you transition from this pipe company, fabrication company, to Bimbo Foods?
Cause I learned fast, and so
that wet didn't mess your brain up, huh?
No, no.
Because some people that formaldehyde, it throws them off, baby.
Oh no,
they
it's
can't
a blessing.
Come back.
It's a total blessing. Cause I know I got friends that I used to deal with at that time.
They be cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs.
Yes, ma'am, most definitely. And so I'm thankful. I'm very thankful because
it had to destroy some of your brain cells, though.
Well,
the
you
bad
had a lot. Did you have something else?
It destroyed the bad ones in there. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, it destroyed the bad
ones. Yes, ma'am. Yeah, but yeah, I say God. Yeah.
Wow,
I say but God, because it's a lot of things that happened in my life that could have destroyed it totally, but He saved me for a reason. So that's why I keep on pushing.
Wow, that's great. So tell me how you got to Bimbo Foods.
I got to Bimbo. I had a cousin. My little cousin Jamil was working there, and so I was just looking for different jobs because the pipe company, it wasn't paying that much, and so I was like, man, I need to get something different. And so I was going to different places, and I couldn't get hired on. And I finally, he told me, he was like, man, I'm working at Bimbo. Fill your application out. I filled the application out, and I filled it out in like October, I think, 2014. And then November the 4th of 2014, I got the interview. And November the 5th, 2014, I started working. I told IPF, I was like, man, I give y'all a 2-week notice. And they was like, man, go ahead. We already know you need some more money. That's a good opportunity. So they didn't have any hard feelings. So
what do you do there?
Right now, I'm a quality assurance coordinator. So basically, I test the lab. I'm in the lab testing the bread, and I also had a sanitation department up under me. So I got 12 individuals. Right now, I got 9. I'm looking for 3 people to hire.
So how like a lot of people say they can't get jobs when they have a criminal record.
And that's
how did that happen with you? I mean, were you drug tested when you got the job?
Oh, everything, yeah. I can get drug tested right now. I'm good.
I know, that's right. Did they tell you? But did you have to tell them your record? How did that? How did you go through that process and interview?
You have to be 100% honest. And so
did you write it down or just say, "Let me talk to you about it"? I mean, how did you deal with it?
No, you fill the application out and you
completed it properly.
Yes, ma'am. There's no, because the thing about it is once you do something that's not all the way correct and it come back, then you don't have it no more, right? And so if I would allow it on that application at any given time, they can look it up and be like, okay, well, you didn't tell us this.
Oh, I wasn't thinking you lied. I was just thinking some people, you know how the ban the box concept means either it's not there and you just talk about it in the interview.
Oh, no.
Or you just leave it blank and talk to them about it in the interview.
So I'm going to tell you what I did.
I think you'd be honest.
I put it on there.
One time what I did was they asked on the application, I don't know if I told you, they asked on the application, have you ever been incarcerated? So I learned this at Care Advance.
Okay.
I put willing to discuss.
Right, that's what
Yeah, so when the guy, Rich, I got him hired at the car dealership.
At the car delership at one time. Yeah, I sold, 3 days.
And,
I was about 3 weeks.
When Rich, when he saw the application, he said, who wrote this on here? He said, I never seen this on the application. And he came with the application, he came around the corner, looked at me, and he said, man, what's your name? And they hired me like in 3 minutes.
Yeah.
But I learned that at Care Advance, willing to discuss. But there's other things that you can also put on there, but it's just.
That's a good one.
Yeah, it was the best one at that time. It was the best one at that time.
Yeah, I checked the box. I checked the box.
The person that was going to interview, did they already know you? And so they knew you had a record?
No, ma'am. No, James Frone, he didn't know me. That was the guy that interviewed. He was a plant manager at that time. He didn't know me. The only thing, like I said, my cousin told me to fill the application out. And when I filled it out, I had the interview with James. And we just talked. We had a communication. And the incarceration never came up.
Really?
No, it
he
never
didn't ask
came
you
up.
about it?
He didn't ask me about it or nothing. And see, that's the problem that'll end up stopping people from looking for a job, because that's what when I was incarcerated at that time, and I was like, okay, well, I can't get a job because they said I can't get a job, right? I believed that for so many years, but then when I took that thought and I took that lie out of my head, then I was like, okay, I'm going to take a chance. And so when I started taking those chances, I was like, all right, I got one job, so I know I can get me another good job. So that's when I started looking. And it's all about going to doors. If a door shuts, there's always another one that's open, right?
Just be willing to keep trying.
Most definitely. And so the company that I work at, they have no ceiling. So it's up to me and it's up to my drive. If I want to stay on the machine. If I wanted to stay on the machine, I could have stayed on the machine. But I wanted to advance. I wanted to excel and see how far I can go.
Do they have other people that they hire there that have criminal records?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, it's all about what God has on the table for you. So I mean, some felonies I know they get frowned upon sometimes, but it's just about taking a chance. Because I can't say, oh, you're not gonna get a job. Nobody can say that.
Well, let's talk about the drug use just a minute. So
Okay.
when you're going in and out of prison, when you get out and start selling again, were you
Yes,
still
ma'am.
using it?
Yes, ma'am.
But that last time after Carol Vance, when you got out,
Oh, I've been good.
are you able to drink?
Who, me? Oh, I drink, but I stopped drinking. I probably about, I ain't gonna say I stopped drinking.
But you don't drink that much.
I don't drink that much.
Because drink was not your drug of choice?
No, ma'am, it wasn't.
So you can drink. What do you drink?
I drink tequila or vodka.
Okay, that's you drink like I do. I drink tequila and vodka, beer. Can you drink?
I can drink.
Okay.
Gin.
Some people can't.
I just started drinking gin.
You just start drinking?
It's a rough one.
I had to find something with low
Bump
sugar in
face.
it because I'm pre-diabetic. So
For real?
I think vodka's low.
Vodka is low. When I walked
low
in the
in calories, I
store,
know that.
I walked in the liquor store and I saw the guy. I said, "You know about liquor?" Because it's the owner. I said, "What don't have no sugar in it?" So I'm just trying to start a conversation because before I was drinking rum, which I like rum, but it's
But it
just
got
too
sugar
much.
in it.
Yeah, it's just too
Yeah.
much. So I stopped. And I don't even drink a lot. If I have a bottle, that bottle literally have stayed in my cabinet for years.
Oh, I know. I remember when we came over to the house to eat them nachos and you wouldn't even drink with me.
Yeah, I wouldn't drink. When I was released, straight and narrow. I was a straight and narrow. I was until I started selling cars. Selling cars changed my life. I don't know what happened, but I was so straight and narrow.
'Cause that's a rough crowd that sells cars. Those guys in the '80s they used to do cocaine and all of them. They didn't get caught.
in
But
the
those,
2000s too.
I'm just
Yeah.
saying, I used to be affiliated with a car salesman.
Yeah.
I'm just telling you, that was a wild life.
Yeah, it was wild. It was wild. In
It's still wild now.
They
Up
lived
there
a
it
wild
was too. It was like a block, huh?
But it was the car dealership I went to was the perfect place for me because it was a bunch of individuals that had never went to jail, but they were, forgive me, but jail material.
They were just, yeah.
But they had never went to jail. And so they had a mentality, but because my life and mentality was that, I wasn't acting like them, but they were still trying to put on this front of who they wanted to be like. And I used that against them. I used it like I outsmarted a lot of the guys actually.
Now, how many years did you do?
I did 17.
You did 17 years, right?
Yeah, so I outsmarted.
So, but yeah, no.
You smarter than them.
I'm way smarter.
Well,
I'll tell you. So in Caravans, there was a lot of connection. We talked about the camaraderie. What stands out as far as the men that you went through the group with? Like what is one of the big instances that you think stands out?
You mean as far as one of the relationships?
Yeah, the relationships.
Relationships, I mean, me and your relationship good. We got a
Yeah.
genuine relationship, you know. I mean, Keith, he was a good relationship.
That's what I was getting to. So just
Yeah.
talk about Keith a little bit.
Well, Keith was a real genuine guy, and the thing about it is he is who he is, and he's not gonna change that. But he's genuine about it, and he's a good-hearted guy, you know. Very, very genuine, and he's very smart too, but he quiet, right? But I was able to get him out of his shell, man. I wrote a rap, and I do music, and I wrote a rap, and I got him to do the hook for me.
whoa.
And so it brought him out of his shell. And,
At Caravans.
At Caravans, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it was a good experience for me, and that time I was able to meet my godmother now, you know, and
His mother.
His mother, yeah. His mother is like very gentle. I'm talking about like an angel, you know, very special woman. She used to come in and you know, she was like a mother to everybody.
She was.
You know? And me and her formed a good relationship, you know, but I think it was 2000, it was a couple years ago, about 2000.
3 years ago.
About 3 years ago, so it was 17. Was 17?
16.
16? 2016, I ain't know it been that long. Yeah, he passed, you know, and
Where did he pass from?
We still don't know, but it was
Then he got killed?
he got killed
In jail or out?
no, he was out. He was out. Of
So he
jail.
got out too?
Yes, ma'am. He got out. He was out too.
And he went back to the life or what?
Well,
I mean, you might not know, but
I'm not really sure about all that. It's just it was the wrong people being around.
somebody
you
murdered
know.
him?
Well,
We really don't know,
we
still
still
don't
don't
know
know
to this
because
day.
I mean, what was his cause of death?
He jumped out the car, or was pushed out the car.
Pushed out the car, jumped out the car on 59, and that situation right there.
It looked like a car accident.
Mm-hmm.
So
But the other guy was the other person was still alive, right?
Yeah.
Other person.
2 people got out the car?
No, so
No,
only
it was
him.
only one. It was only one, and so.
So how was it? Was it listed as a suicide or a homicide?
I never even read
I never read.
Did
I'm
he
not
have a
gonna
real
lie.
funeral?
Oh no, he did. Yeah,
Y'all
we
go
was
to the
we was
funeral?
at the funeral. Yes, ma'am. We was
It
at
was
the
the
funeral.
first funeral that it was the first funeral that I went to because I didn't get to go to my mother's funeral.
Yeah.
Right.
So he called me and asked me to be a pallbearer, and I was like, no. And I was selling cars. I was at work, and it was on a Saturday. And you don't leave car dealership on a Saturday.
Saturday, that's when everybody's there, yeah.
And so I mustered up the strength. I don't think I was working there, man. I wasn't working at the car dealership. And I mustered up the strength to go, but I purposefully went late. I purposely went late, and him and some more guys that we were incarcerated with. One guy I knew since 6th grade that I ended up being incarcerated with.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna turn the story back over to you. They were on the front row.
Yeah.
So I came in middle of the funeral.
Yeah. See what? I never been to a funeral either. The only thing I've been to was a wake, and that was Big Reggie wake, and that was like my brother. You know, I went to his wake, but I never went to a funeral because my big mama and big daddy died. I was on Waters unit, and so I was like, I'm not going. I've never been to one, but when she asked me, I had to step up and go. You
Wow.
know? And
We got 1 minute, so wrap up the story.
yeah. Well, just to this day, me and her have a great relationship. I mean, he was a good brother. That was one of the relationships that stand out a lot because he didn't talk that much, but what he gave you was genuine.
And the thing that happened too that I wanted you to get to that we adopted her.
Yeah.
So she's our mama.
That's our mama.
Oh,
Yeah, that's my mama.
what is that?
All day. Yeah.
So
yeah.
that's when our kids were together. We take her out to eat and
Yeah.
we've been to birthday parties.
Yeah.
And that was her only son.
Yeah.
So she came to see us while we were in prison. So now we are her sons, and,
Oh, yeah.
and she is our mother.
Yeah. Most definitely.
What a beautiful story.
Oh, yeah, it is.
That Carol Vance experience in this program
Oh, yeah.
the guy I knew told me about it 10 years ago. The Kairos is what he kept talking about.
Yes, ma'am.
And it was a special experience. It changed his life. And whoever his mentor was, I'm telling you, the guy drove down from Dallas to testify. And it meant the world to it because not only could he say it, this guy knew him in depth. You know, and you know, this guy, you know, this is a black dude. This is this white guy coming around from Dallas,
Yeah.
and talked about all the intricacies of him and how he changed his life while he was in there.
Most definitely.
So it was a beautiful experience. It left you in tears. So I've always admired that program, and I hope that it lives on.
Oh, most definitely.
Yes.
Yeah. It's a life changer.
Everybody says it.
Yeah.
It is.
It is.
Everybody who talks about it says it.
I'm an example.
Your example.
I am.
Well, I'm very proud of you, Michael Brooks. And I never got to the nickname.
Oh, White Boy Hatchet.
Oh, white boy.
All right. Now, have you ever watched Steven Seagal?
Yes.
Okay, so you know the what's his name, the Jamaican. It'd be like, who do it? White Boy Hatchet do it.
Okay.
So when I was young, I used to always do stuff, and so if anything happened on the block in the neighborhood or something, they'd be like, who did that? And they'd be like, White Boy Hatchet did it.
I
And
see.
yeah, see, my
You
mama
wear a
white.
ponytail too?
Oh no, man, I did. I just cut my dreads off though last year
Oh, okay.
sometime. I had.
So your mom's white?
My mom white, my dad black. Yes, ma'am. Yeah, so that's why they.
That's why you white boy hat.
Yes, ma'am. White Boy Hatchet.
She's gonna get to the bottom of it.
Yeah,
You know, I'm gonna get to the bottom. I ain't gonna let it
Yeah.
go. Plus, I'm getting a sign that I have 30 seconds, so we need to
Okay.
wrap it up. Do you have to say anything in part? I'm very proud of what you've done. I'm proud of you too, of course, Damien, always.
Yes, ma'am.
So, is there anything you want to say to wrap it up? Because he's saying wrap it up.
All I want to say is just stay free and stay focused and don't believe any type of lies that anybody tries to tell you about yourself. Learn that you are worthy and learn that you can be successful in life.
I think he got the last word on this one, unless you have something to say, Damien.
That's it.
All right. So thank you for watching Truth and Justice with Vivian King. I hope you've been enlightened like I have been. And I'll see you next time. Good night. Thank you for tuning in again. Tonight we have something really good, a hot topic in the news this week. We've been charged with crime. This is a show where